First, guys, thank you. Thank you for coming. Looks like we're almost back to normal, but it's kind of been cool to go through this process, 2019, 2020, and now to be able to do it this fall camp. It's been cool for our players, for our coaches, to be able to come back to some sense of normalcy. I think our support staff, our training staff, they've done a great job with our players so far in fall camp, even with us dealing with, the COVID protocols, definitely not the same as that we dealt with last year, but there still are challenges. And so I really am excited from the place I sit to be able to work with our staff in the way that they've done. We've had a lot of fun, our players have, in fall camp so far. Been a lot of hard work. Hard work for coaches as well. I don't know what number this is for me in terms of fall camp, but it's been a grueling camp. And what we've talked to our players about is the fact that 2020, it was very different, And so now you're able to go full pads, you're able to have walkthroughs, you're able to do a lot of things physically that we really even couldn't do in last year. And so we've had a lot of growth in that way, again, from players and coaches. So, I'm excited for us to continue to get better across the board, offensively and defensively. When you look at what we've done since January in terms of leadership, we as a staff can be no more excited because our guys have really grown. And when you go out in the fall camp and you see older guys tutoring younger guys, when you see older guys holding other older guys accountable for things, it's really cool and refreshing to see. I think Coach Kleiman said it yesterday that that has been our best practice so far, and I would agree. Best practice, our toughest, most physical practice. But at the end of the day, we got a lot done in that one day. And so with that, I'll just open it up for questions. Easy questions, of course.
Dan, I guess I would start by asking about Jerron and what it means for him to be back. And in addition to him, are there any other guys that have stepped up and helped from the leadership perspective?
Wow, across the board, when you talk about leadership, our team has done a great job in that way. We, and I'm sure Coach talked about our core values of discipline, commitment, toughness, selflessness, and continually our guys show those attributes. So, when you talk about Jerron, yes, he's been that guy. He's continually shown leadership. He's done that since he's been here. And, to have him back, to have Skylar back, along the line, all those guys who chose to come back and be a part of our team to continue to help us grow, we appreciate it as a staff. Our younger players appreciate it, and him specifically, Jerron, has done a great job in that way, and I'm excited to watch him play this season.
Is it more of a challenge for you personally now with the way things have changed with the transfer portal and what have you to get guys coming to K-State ready in less than a year?
Well, the transfer portal has changed quite a bit across the landscape of college football. There's some good to that and there's some bad. We have fortunately been able to benefit from some guys coming from other programs to join our program. And, it leads to another level of responsibility for your staff to be able to retain your team, right? To be able to, now, every day is not a banquet. Every day is not going to be Christmas and the 4th of July. There are going to be some tough days. So that's where it could be a tough deal because in some ways players can think that, if it's not going right, I just grab my ball and I just go to another place. What's going to happen, there'll be some days that'll be tough no matter where you choose to play. And so, that's a challenge for us as coaches, not just at K-State, but across the country, is to do the best we can to retain our players, to make sure that they have a positive experience, but then also to teach them to be men, right? To teach them to understand that there'll be some tough days and there'll be some days where, as a coach, I'm going to have to sit you down and tell you some things that you might not want to hear. And when that happens, you can't just, run off, And so to bring players to K-State, it has never been a challenge for me because we have a great fan base. We have great leadership in our administration. We have a fabulous experience that a student athlete can have here at K-State. And, just getting them to look beyond the things that they may perceive about being in Manhattan, Kansas, then, once we get past that, then guys really appreciate this experience, and it's easy to recruit to that.
Coach, can you tell me a little bit about your two new cornerbacks that came in during the offseason, Julius Brents and Reggie Stubblefield, what they're bringing to you right now?
Well, first of all, those guys have had experience. The fact that they've played college football, and as a coach, you can appreciate that. And so they come in with that credibility with our team, with our players. But then when you talk about them individually as people, they are really good players. They're really good people. They came into the they came into the position room not with an air of, give me, what can I do, or what can the team do for me? It was more, what can I do to help this team? And our players saw that. When a guy comes in from another program, when a guy comes in, first of all, the threat level is high, but they were not threatening. They've always been guys who have walked in to be able to serve our team. And I think our players appreciate that, just like a coach appreciates the experience. Players appreciate people coming in with humility and understanding that they want to learn the culture, and they don't want to walk in and be given a starting role, that they want to earn everything that they get. And so that attitude that they walked in with, I think has helped them, but has helped our team to welcome them in. And I'm excited for what they bring in terms of leadership. They're definitely both good players, and they fit right into the culture that we are continually trying to build.
I also wanted to ask about Amaris Brown. What was it about his skill set that made you think he would fit well with the nickel?
Well, the thing is that he does a good job in man coverage, and in the situations that we play in, the situations that you can have that nickel position be in. Amaris is a great fit. He can actually, as athletic as he is, he can play multiple positions in the secondary. And so he's a guy that when you watch him play, you see him, he makes plays, he's athletic, he plays with a lot of energy at all times. And so I'm excited for him. Definitely, he's a younger player. I'm excited for him to continue to grow. And like I said, the fact is his athleticism allows him to be able to play multiple positions. So yes, he'll line up at nickel, but he'll play other positions as well. And then he'll help us tremendously on special teams because of his speed, because of his toughness, because of his ability to be able to play in multiple positions.
And you mentioned recruiting a minute ago. Has the uncertainty in the Big 12 right now added any uncertainty with you dealing with recruits? And if those questions come up, what do you say to those guys?
Well, I think that, first of all, that's about 8 levels above my pay grade. No, actually 10 levels. So, our players on our current team, that's not a factor in their lives. That's not a distraction for them. They are locked in and focused on their jobs and the things that they can control. And so, in recruiting, sometimes parents ask that, but we hit that straight on as a staff, from Coach Kleiman, from our coaches, to say that Kansas State is a great university, a great football, great athletic program, and we're going to be on the highest level, and we're going to do things. Whoever is in charge, whoever is making those decisions, we're going to do things that will keep Kansas State in the spotlight, in the forefront of athletics across the country. And so, however that plays out, I don't have a vote. The recruits won't have a vote. Our current players won't have a vote, but we have confidence in our leadership. We have confidence in the people who are in charge of making those decisions, and they've assured us that we're going to be relevant. And so that, we're going to continue to do our jobs, continue to do what we can do to help them to be able to put us in those positions.
Just to follow up on that a little bit, is that something that's coming up quite a bit right now in recruiting?
No, initially there were questions, but right now our recruits are in fall camps, and they, the discussions when we talk about things are what's going on with you in fall camp, what's going on with them in fall camp. And so I think that our players, our recruits understand that's something that's not in their lives today. And again, we've continued to stress to them what this university, what this football program can do for them. And so that hadn't been an issue at all. Initially, yes, we got a couple questions, but we approached it just like I said, and it's been full steam ahead to what we're doing today, who we play tomorrow, and it's just been focused on that.
I was going to ask too, on the defensive side of the ball, just about the linebackers. Where do you feel like things are at right there, and just how confident are you in the group that you guys have?
Well, I feel like guys like Deuce Green and Fletch, those guys they've had a tremendous camp in terms of continuing to understand our scheme, continuing to provide leadership on the field for the new guys that we've rolled in, and so that group, as well as the others, and it's been refreshing to watch them. It's been refreshing to watch them grow. Been refreshing to watch them. And I talk about scheme, but we as a staff have focused quite a bit on the fundamentals of tackling, on creating turnovers, and we've talked through those things. And you talk to those things, me being a secondary coach, you talk to those things quite a bit with your secondary. But at this moment, our linebackers are leading the team in interceptions. So that's been really cool and fun and competitive to watch our guys operate in that way.
Defensively, what does Russ Hughes bring to the table, and what do you need? How high of a level do you need? You see him performing at this year?
Well, I've seen him make a few splash plays, and again, I talk about Julius and I talk about Stubblefield and the fact that they bring experience, they bring leadership. Well, that's exactly what Russ brings. He always talks about how appreciative he is to be in this program, how there's some things that he didn't have in his previous experience that he's getting now, and that he's so glad to be a part of our program. You see him; he runs well. He will hit you in the mouth. He is a great communicator out there. He understands the scheme. He understands where everyone fits. That's something that you want to have in a safety. It's something that, as a coach, that you're excited about. So again, he's another guy who I'm excited to watch play in the real games, because to have him out here in fall camp and watch him move around has been very much intriguing. So I can't wait to watch him play.
And is Russ in the mix as far as a return specialist?
I think he's one of the guys who rotates back there. I think in that group, a really dynamic group of returners. When you talk about Deuce, when you talk about Brooksy, you add him in the mix. You got Malik. So it's going to be, just as in every other position on our team, to pick out the returner is going to be a challenge. But as you go through a season, it's a long season, and that's a position where we get guys and we'll roll them in. So yes, Rush has been a guy who has shown promise in that area as well.
Coach, T.J. Smith had a really solid freshman season before he got hurt. What kind of have you seen him coming back from injury, and then what kind of are your expectations for him as we go throughout the season?
Well, the fact that he got injured, that was disappointing for him as well as for us as a program. But sometimes people get injured and you see something very different in them as they fight back to recovery, and that's what I would say we saw in TJ. I call him the Wasp because he's always stinging people, but I'm excited. He's a very good young player who is a great communicator, who is very competitive, who loves football. And it's clear to see that, you know, really all the guys that we talked about, you've asked questions about, these guys love football. It's important today to have players on your team who love to play the game, because the game is it's hard to prepare. You know, if you ask the question, who wants to win? Everybody will raise their hands. But who wants to pay the price? And TJ is one of those guys who loves it. He loves watching film. He loves to prepare. And so again, I'm excited. I'm really excited, as we've talked about all of our players, but I'm excited about watching him grow in this system.
Coach, kind of a big picture question here. After everything that the team went through last year with COVID and injuries and a little dissension in the locker room, now that that's kind of eased, do you sense it's almost paying off, like it's drawing guys together?
Well, I've never seen us have dissension in the locker room, but all those other things that you said, yes, those are challenges that not only we face here at Kansas State, but that we face in our society. And whenever you go through tough things as a person, as a group, as a team, as a society, I think you should hope that you come out stronger on the other side. And like I've said, you know, since January, we've encouraged our leaders to lead. Coach Kleiman always talks about the fact that this is their football team. This is our players' football team. And when you have a player-led team, you tend to have much more success than when you have a coach-led team, when you have the coaches pushing all the agendas. Because I think also there's two lines of communication. There's that line of communication when the coach says something, and then all of a sudden when the players look at each other and they nod and they wink and they kind of smile, there's another level of communication. And I think on our team, there's the things that we say as a staff. Well, on that other wave, there's also communication, and it's the same. We're talking about the same things. No, on our communication link, we're not talking about Drake and TikTok, but they are on theirs. But they're also talking about, you know, the things that we are pushing. They're talking about commitment. They're talking about being selfless. They're holding each other accountable. And so I'm excited about that because, you know, at the end of the season, when things will be tough, when things will be hard, those are the things that'll come true. Those are the things that we will be able to count on much more than if Miss is running toss sweep or if he's running inside zone. Those things will help us be able to win games.
A 6-year quarterback, added offensive pieces, an experienced offensive line. As a defensive coach, what's your view of the state of this K-State offense?
Well, I've always been excited about the things that we do on offense, the challenges that we present to a defense. When you have the pieces that you talked about, when you have those pieces in place, you give Coach Messingham the ability to be able to fully take advantage of the tools that his offense can work with. So I can't wait to see, you know, the way we challenge, because each day, each practice, from a defensive standpoint, we're challenged. We're challenged to get lined up. We're challenged to make checks according to motion. We're challenged to understand, are they in an unbalanced formation? We're challenged with, okay, are you going to defend Deuce? Or are you going to defend Skylar? Is Skylar out of the pocket? What are they doing? You know, so each day, each play, you know, there's a different challenge. And once we find the key, the answer to one formation, they switch it and they give us a different play or the same play in another formation or a different type of motion. And so I think those stress defenses, they give defensive coordinators sleepless nights. And I'm very excited about where our offense is.
Anything else?
I want to give you a chance to talk about Joe Irvin. I know everyone's talked about him, but I feel like you've played a role too in getting him, you know, to come back and everything that involves. Just talk about that.
Well, Joe is a guy who of course opted out last season, and he came back ready to work. And you know, the clearest image of what a guy's commitment is to being successful as an offensive and defensive player is what he's willing to do on special teams. And Joe, from the onset of spring, showed us that he was locked in to doing whatever he could do to be a part and to contribute to this team. So he showed the staff that, you know, he could really help us on special teams. Well, we've gone into fall camp. Well, let's talk about the summer. His work, according to his teammates, according to the strength staff, his work has been unmatched this summer. And so he comes into fall camp and he showed just what he did in the spring, that he could be an explosive player on special teams. Of course, he has something special that he gives us on offense, but on special teams, on all of the units, he really has shown that he'll be able to help us. So, you know, there are some players who they go out there and they do their thing on offense or defense, and you know that's without question. But then there are some special guys who can be excellent on special teams, but then they can also do things on their respective sides of the ball, and that's what Joe has done. But like I said, he walked in with an air of I'm going to go to work, I'm going to put my head down, and that's what he's done. And he was I believe it was last week, awarded the prize fighter of the week. And that's been something that, you know, for me as a coach dealing with Joe, I'm really proud of, for him to be able to accomplish that.
And then I want to ask about cornerback T. Denson. How much do you expect him to play this season, and how has he been progressing?
T has another young guy like TJ. I believe they're roommates, and they're really close friends, and they bounce off of each other. They like I said about TJ, they love football. They love the art of preparing, and they love the grind of it. And that's something that I've always respected and I've always liked about T, even in the recruiting process. So I'm excited about where he will go as a player, just because of his work ethic, just because of his love for the preparation. But he's grown as a player. He's put on weight. He's gotten stronger. He's continuing to be more confident as a tackler. He's continuing to be more confident to be able to communicate, to be able to express to his teammates on the field the things that he sees. He's grown to understand the defense, which again gives you confidence, which allows you to communicate, which allows you to do things in terms of getting us all lined up. That's not necessarily the job of a cornerback, but he's been confident enough in fall camp to be able to do that. So I think he'll play quite a bit, and I think he'll perform. Again, he didn't play much as a true freshman, but I think he'll play quite a bit for us. In the cornerback group, I think I have 5 to 6 guys who will be able to help us. So I'm again, for the 18th time, really excited about those guys.
And the last thing I got is, which wide receiver has been the toughest guard for you guys?
Really, all of them. All of those guys, they work tremendously hard. It's great competition every day in camp. It's great competition. We go one-on-ones, we go releases, we go tackling. We tackle those guys at times, and it's always a challenge. But the guys who have stood out, really, I'm gonna just talk about a young guy, J Garcia. You know, that kid, when I saw him come in and I just kind of, you know, watch him off to the side, and he's working on his get off, he's working on his releases. I've always been impressed with the kind of kid he's been. He doesn't say much, but he's made some plays here in the last few practices. He's made some plays, so I look for big things from him. Of course, Malik is Malik. Phillip Brooks, you don't get a hand on him. He is what he is in that way. But Tyrone Howell has shown some things, really sure hands. But that's a good group of guys for us to work with, work against every day. But those guys, especially, like I said, young J Garcia has shown promise to me.
Last one here, Wyatt.
I was just gonna ask you to maybe give us a sense of what Tremaine Carroll has meant to this program in the last few months. It seems like he's been a difference maker in a lot of different ways.
Well, like some of you know, this is my 3rd time to work with Tremaine, True as we all call him. I watched him grow And you know, in this our third time together, he's done nothing different than I would have expected him to do. He has come in, he's impacted our team, he's impacted our coaches, he's impacted this whole building, because that's who he is. And our players, they continually have come to me and said, "Man, I'm so glad we have Coach True. He's really helped me." You know, we take pictures of our players, we take the before and after pictures, and when they've seen, because you don't, when you're in the process, when you're growing, you don't see the growth. But then if you look back and compare to where you've come from, then you know you do. And just going through that process and listening to our players, I feel like like I said earlier, they've been impacted tremendously. But we still have a long way to go. And True is always in that mindset that the work is never done. And so I can appreciate that from him. So I think he's gonna be a big part of the success that we have here at K-State. And it's not necessarily all about what he does in the weight room, just like what we talk about on the football field. It's about him pouring into these young men when they're not in the weight room and when they're you know, walking around the building. So I'm enthusiastic about, you know, where he's going to be able to take our team. Chose a different word, not excited.